just going to get right to it. The state of the motherfucking union. So I don't really get political or anything like that often, be it on the podcast, on the YouTube channel, anything of that nature. I might take little jabs here and there when the government does something stupid, of course, but I try to stay, relatively unbiased in terms of any quote unquote political affiliation. But when I saw this report about a week ago, it's really just set with me. I follow CNBC, I get alerts from them, and this was 11 days ago now, and I was still thinking about this. Inflation in December was even lower than first reported, the government says. And for those of you on YouTube specifically, you probably seen my short clip where I even called out this article and just, the fact that we're supposed to believe what the government is saying now versus the actual data that came out that inflation is still rampant. We're over 3.5 to 4.5, and depending on which data you're looking at, even in double-digit inflation still. Because let's be real, every media source out there picks and chooses which type of data they actually want to look at when it comes to inflation. Real inflation is still hovering right around 8% currently, but even if we go with the lower numbers, you're still looking at about 3.5 to 4% year-over-year inflation. For those of you that don't understand what that means your $100 is becoming worth about $4 less every single year at the current rate that we're going. And again, that's on the low end. That's not factoring in a lot of things. So what does that mean for those of us that are business owners? Because I know a lot of you all are like me. You're starting a pest control business specifically, or you already have a pest control business. In short, guys, this means you're going to have to keep raising those prices. I keep preaching on it. I keep saying that a lot of us in the industry are going in the opposite direction. We're lowering prices when we should be raising prices. If you want to stay in business at the end of the day, you're going to have to raise those prices. Now, don't get me wrong. Of course, when you're running promos and things like that to get a customer in the door, of course, you're going to lower that initial price to get started. But in terms of your ongoing continual pest control maintenance costs, those prices are going to have to go up. But we had to do recently, and we did it back in, I think, 21 or 22 as a matter of fact was when we raised prices last. We're going to have to raise prices again. I'm assuming around April, May is probably when we're going to go through our next batch of price increases. Anytime we do price increases, since most of our customers pay either on a monthly or yearly frequency, what we'll do is we'll raise the monthly ones first. We'll usually do those about anywhere between $4 to $10 a month across the board, and then on the ones that pay yearly, we'll just kind of adjust those as we see fit based on a percentage basis. Of course, again, just factoring in inflation. Since inflation has been for our industry around 7.5% over the last 2 years since we last raised prices, that means our prices are going to go up about 15, maybe even 20%. I have to, sit down and, like I said, calculate the true realized inflation for our business. And that's a whole other aspect of this inflation game, guys, is, like I said, depending on where you look, you may see inflation numbers as low as like 3.5%. You may see numbers as high as, like I said, still in the double digits. Every sector of the economy is going to be different than others, and that's where, when it comes to running a business like a lot of us do, we have to sit down and calculate, okay, how much has my shit gone up in price that I have to buy, like our chemical, like our gas for our vehicles, our wear and tear on our vehicles, our pay, because obviously our cost of living is going up as well. And for those of us that have employees, obviously giving employees a good enough raise, that's where a lot of you employers are fucking up right now, is you see that inflation is definitely above 3.5%. Let's be real. You're not stupid. You're a business owner. You know damn well inflation is above 3.5%. And even if it is at 3.5%, some of you guys aren't giving raises whatsoever. And then some of you that are, you're giving like a 1 to 2, maybe 3% raise when you know for a fact that inflation is 3.5 bare minimum. And like we said, upwards still around 8 to 10%, depending on the industry and depending on what numbers you're looking at. So, I mean, this is what we're going to have to do at the end of the day. We're going to have to raise prices, I keep saying it over and over again. Elections have consequences. Hopefully in 2024, everyone will vote with their freaking dollars in their wallet instead of voting with their feelings. And this is why whenever I talk to people individually, because again, I try to keep politics for the most part off my channel, out of my content, things of that nature. But whenever I do talk to a lot of even you guys one-on-one, you echo the same thing that I hear from everybody else, including my own customers. Just at the end of the day, we got to get back to voting for shit that matters in this country. There's above the line issues and then there's below the line issues. What does that mean exactly? That means what is affecting us every single day. Things like how much bread costs, how much gas costs, how much water costs, how much electricity costs, how much gas costs, all of gas in terms of heating gas, that is. How much does all this stuff cost? Everything that has a cost is affecting us day by day by day. Things that may fall below the line, I don't know, abortion, something that statistically most of you will never ever have to experience. I'm sorry, that's a below the line issue. Is it an issue that whenever things are going good that maybe you can consider? To each their own. I'm not going to speak on my own opinion on that, but to each their own. But, you know, in times of hard economic times, we got to put that shit to the side because, you know, as the saying goes, good times create weak men create hard times create strong men create good times. I got a feeling that unfortunately we have officially started to transition from the good times create weak men into more of a weak men have now created hard times. We're kind of in that hard times transition where I think it's going to get a lot worse personally before it even begins to get better. I do notice, thankfully, that more and more people are starting to speak out against the corruption, against the bullshit that our government continues to force on us. But there's still a lot of you with your freaking head in the sand thinking that, you know, keeping up with the Kardashians and, you know, who's winning this, who's winning that. And even myself, I get caught up. Obviously, you guys know I'm a huge Chiefs fan, right? And even I get caught up in the whole football and this and that. Like, we're focusing on a bunch of bullshit that doesn't matter. And we got to get back to focusing on what does matter in this country. Otherwise, we're going to lose the whole damn thing. And all of the stuff that we look at in terms of how to become successful is just only going to be reachable for a very small percentage of people. So like I said, you know, straight to the point today, tried to keep it relatively short and sweet. Just pay attention, guys. Like, I challenge each and every one of you. Download, I don't care what business app it is. It could be CNBC, it could be Fox Business, whatever. You know, I try to, like I said, as much as I can, stay unbiased. CNBC is obviously going to be more left leaning. You know, it's an NBC company, right? But, you know, I like to see a little bit of everything. That way I can, you know, see what's bullshit versus what's not. And look at this headline. They're not even hiding it, you know, because the inflation data came out, I believe, like a week or two before this article came out. But then all of a sudden, oh, actually, hey guys, inflation in December was even lower than we first reported. Keyword, says the government. I'm not believing a word that this government says because, you know, I have my own 2 cents on this entire government that's in the U.S. right now is a total coup of its own. They continue to gaslight the American people like never before. You know, we got an issue, we got a swamp that we got to drain. Everybody, you know, wasn't taking it seriously back in 2016. And, you know, I am by no means, you know, the type to say that President Trump was like perfect or anything. I said that, a matter of fact, he wasn't hard enough. He didn't do a lot of what he said he was going to do. At the end of the day, there's some big problems and we got to address them. We need accountability now more than ever. And yeah, like I said, hopefully you guys, hopefully you're waking up, because, you know, if you don't wake up now, I got a feeling that we're never gonna see better days, at least in the next decade plus. So, you know, if you guys think it's hard right now, just imagine whenever there's bread lines and your money's worthless, and, you know, like I said, doing all this entrepreneur shit's for nothing at the end of the day. And that's why I went ahead and did this. I was very on edge about doing this episode because I was like, man, like, you have stayed true to yourself in terms of going out of your way to not be quote unquote political. And I'm still not really trying to overly insert my own political beliefs within this specific episode. But goddamn, guys, like, if y'all don't wake the fuck up and vote wisely in this election, it's not going to matter. The whole business content, this and that and the other, none of it's going to matter. We're already to a point where when you factor in sales tax, property tax, tax on gasoline, tax on this, tax on that, we even got fucking death taxes. Like, are you serious? Taxes on shit when you die? Like, when you factor in all these taxes in a lot of states, even if you're not a high income earner, you're paying north of 50% of your income in taxes. Do you guys realize what that means? That means you're working until June fucking 1st before you even start making money for your own household. Like, think about this, guys. Like, this shit is not okay. And it's our duty as Americans for our kids, up and coming generations, to get this shit right. You know, we can't fix what the, you know, everybody right now is like, oh, the boomers this, the boomers that. Okay, are we going to sit around and bitch, piss, and moan about the boomers fucking everything up? Or are we going to get this country back in order? You know, that's for you to decide at the end of the day. I know what I'm deciding. I'm just using my platform to kind of speak on the issue. You know, you guys can probably expect a little bit more of this, especially as we get closer to the election. So if this isn't your cup of tea, I apologize, but we're going to keep it fucking moving with or without you because, you know, like I said, without getting this country back to the standard that we all expect this country to be, the business content doesn't even matter at the end of the day because they both go together. When the economy is failing, you're gonna fail. It's a matter of time. We can only do so much from a business op standpoint to keep everything afloat. When we're starting to hear words like depression go around, that's when you know shit's getting real. You know, we're not talking just normal inflation anymore. We're talking hyperinflation, stagflation, terms that you just never, ever, ever want to hear in any type of economy, regardless if it's in the US, Europe, wherever you may be watching. And same thing for you guys in Europe, regardless of where you're at. Get involved. Figure out who the hell is trying to ruin our lives, because these people right now, at least in the US government specifically, they do not like us. If they liked us, they would not be trying to force all of this bullshit on us, on our children, you know, continuing to siphon our money, sending it to Ukraine. When, by the way, have you looked at the footage over in Ukraine lately? Ukraine's living better than us right now. We continue to send, you know, what is it up to now? $160 billion, if not more, to Ukraine over the last 2 years, where whenever a economist did a study, they said it would only take $60 billion to cure the entire homeless issue in the United States of America. So they could have taken care of homelessness 3x over, but instead they siphoned all that money to Ukraine to put it back in their pockets at the end of the day. You know, we could go on and on. We got to get this shit right. You know, like I said, hopefully I'm not bending too many people the wrong way or anything like that, but you know, we got to get this shit in order, guys. Otherwise, like I said, none of the business stuff matters at the end of the day. So I appreciate you guys tuning in as always. If you did enjoy this clip, do me a favor, for those of you on YouTube, smash the thumbs up button. Leave me a comment too down below, you know, what you think about just the state of the motherfucking union at the end of the day here in the US. You know, what you think that we could do. You know, we all need to do better. You know, it all starts with us. I love the saying that Andy Frisella, shout out to Andy Frisella, by the way, if you're not listening to the podcast Real AF, look it up. It's on YouTube, Spotify, all that type of stuff. But I love the saying he uses. He says, personal excellence is the ultimate rebellion, because if you're not taking care of your house, then how can you expect to take care of the White House, right? You know, if you can't lead your family as a man, you know, I'm speaking to men right now on this. If you can't lead your house as a man, be it, you know, being disciplined, getting the money right, all of this, you know, there's so much that goes into being a man and being a leader of your house. But at the end of the day, if you're not leading your family in personal excellence, then how can you lead your community? If you can't lead your local community, how can you help lead this country back to where it needs to be? So go out there, be great. If you haven't already subscribed, do me a favor, subscribe down below. For those of you listening on Apple, Spotify, whatever podcast you may be listening to, do me a favor and share this message with somebody. Matter of fact, those of you on YouTube, on the podcast, wherever you may be seeing or listening to my crazy voice right now, do me a favor, share this message with somebody. And if you're not already following, like I said, give us a follow. We're trying to grow the TikTok following as well. That way we can start going live on TikTok whenever we go live on YouTube as well. I think we're about 200 followers short right now of being able to go live on TikTok. So I appreciate, for those of you who are not already following over there, go ahead and do so and help us out. Like I said, I'm always looking forward to hearing from you all. So drop a comment down on YouTube comments down below, or like I said, those of you that are listening to show in podcast format, feel free to hop over to YouTube as well and leave a comment down below. I'm probably going to start posting a lot of my content on the website. That way, if for some crazy reason, you know how things are going, if we get deplatformed or whatever the case may be, you guys will be able to still see all the content over on my website as well. So if you're not following the website content, be sure to go over to griffinbthomas.com. Link for that is in my show notes as well. I appreciate you guys. I love you guys. Go out there and crush it, and let's take this damn country back.